it's a prompt, boom, and it creates it to brand spec with approved assets, sends the campaign. I don't have to do anything except approve the cost, right? So building that is hard, but it's amazing, and it's getting there, where this tool is going to be the one that can do it. We know all the other tools out there, they don't work the way that we're trying to build this, where we can input and output information, build, what we need, and then have our platform be the source of truth across all these other pieces. It's an amazing time.
Justin, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Daniel. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm very excited for this conversation. And, we spoke a couple of days ago. I got a chance to learn about all the cool stuff you guys are working on internally at Pepper Lunch, and also your background as well, working at some of my favorite brands here in California. Really want to know how you got into this crazy business, and what are you currently working on today? What gets you excited?
Nice, man. The story goes way back to like when I was 15. I was the fry cook at Burger King. So I guess that's my real intro into restaurants.
Amazing.
Growing up and going into college, a girlfriend of mine, her parents were restaurateurs. So I got really close to it during college, just hanging around them, seeing how they run their business. They owned this one-off Mexican restaurant up in San Rafael called, what was it called? It was like the pyramid, or it had some weird Maya Palenka was what it was called. So it was like this Mayan theme and everything. It was really cool. But they had a full bar in there, amazing food, just a great ambiance. So I learned a lot from that family about, the restaurant business, being a waiter in college, like the normal path, paying for your rent, working a few days a week sort of thing. So did that. And then, I thought my path was going to be music and music marketing. I went to school for marketing, obviously. I DJ'd a lot. I was at the radio station doing the whole thing, but I'm old enough to know that when Napster came out, it kind of killed everything. So a lot of those jobs and things went away during that time. So I still moved to LA, after college. I went to Sonoma State. Worked in marketing for a publishing company for a while, just kind of cutting my teeth, first job thing. And then I met someone that worked for the company Baja Fresh at like a happy hour. And he was like, "Hey, I want to hire you. You need to come over here. I like you," kind of thing. And I went and interviewed the next week, and then I was off in my restaurant marketing career. So started restaurant marketing at Baja Fresh, kind of just learning the whole business. At the time, they had about 300 locations. So it was really a cool brand to be at the time. From there, I went to QDOBA, did like a regional marketing job in LA, learned how to do that, how to work with franchisees, really building out sort of the market. And then, the last 10 years, it's been just restaurant leadership at growth brands, growth concepts, exciting concepts. Worked with the Halal Guys, with JINYA Ramen Bar, with Doghouse, and now with Pepper Lunch. All those brands are the type of brands that, had the opportunity to just be, that silver bullet growth in the industry. They all offered something a little unique, which I like. And then I like working with founders now, or, directly with CEOs and helping launch these brands and helping them grow. So that's been my work the last 10 years or so, just working at these growth brands and helping them accelerate that. A lot of times I'm one of the first marketing hires, and I just help, design the department, the systems, what technology we're going to use, the whole shebang. So that's what I'm doing. Now I'm doing that at Pepper Lunch.
Amazing. I think that it's so clear that the roles that you take at certain companies are really dictated by the stage that they are in their growth. So for example, Baja Fresh, they were at 300 or so locations. At that point, they were a little bit more mature of a company, right? What was that? If we had to go back, like when you started at that company, how would you compare it to like the types of marketing work or types of initiatives that you're running at a more mature company versus an early stage company, other than just like setting up the systems?
Funny, it's like when you're at different stages of growth, there's just different priorities. A lot of what I do now is helping sell franchises. So that part of marketing, which I didn't do before, and then helping launch them. So like grand openings, just because you start having so many, just getting that grand opening plan down,
Mm-hmm.
What are the tactics? What works in each market? Should it be heavy digital? Should it be boots on the ground? Is it a college? Is it in the, in the suburbs? All those factors. So just figuring out what that looks like for these brands is what, the big difference and how I've evolved, and just the digital tools as well. I mean, when I started it was POP posters. It was like things in the restaurant. It was direct mail. Now with the heavy focus on digital, it's all changed, and then in the last 5 years, how it's really changed is just the acceleration of more digital tools, more online ordering. Your systems have to work together in order to even be successful. So a lot of the push and pull is working with vendor partners, trying to get them to help you accomplish a goal. A lot of times you're the 17th brand on the list if you're a Toast, client or something. And I get that based on your size, but those are the types of connections and API flows and things that we really need to be successful, or just to learn about our guests, and get a better gauge of who they are, what their actions are, and then how we can reach them. So all those things are super important now, just really the relationships between your vendors and what you need to get out of that, compared to back in the day when it's like, okay, we have our POS system, it works, but we're not really pulling customer data out of it. We don't know who these people are. We're just throwing stuff at the wall, trying to look great. Like that's the old way. Now it's like we're getting so deep into targeting and knowing who our guest is and like pushing for that guest. And it's changed in an amazing way, in a pretty short time.
What I'm hearing is that I've heard this also before from another executive that was on the show, that their main focus is marketing. That's their title, the CMO. But what he said is that the marketing role has kind of changed over the years, and it's become very much embedded into IT and technology. And so when you're using all these modern systems, not only do you need to understand how the effects of those systems and how you're going to be able to drive traffic and engagement, but also how you can connect all these systems together. I think one thing that was really cool about what we talked about last time, plus also me going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, looking at what Troy is doing, looking at what Paul is doing, you guys have kind of embedded this operating system that you were talking about. And within that, I'm sure that you and the work that you do with the marketing needs to kind of feed back into this operating system as a whole in order to unlock insights and in order to drive smart decisions. So in your current role right now, are there any sort of like missed opportunities that you see with the current tools that are out there that doesn't allow you to kind of get the data that's really relevant for your role?
Well, it's funny. I feel like a lot of the partners that we use are new-ish, right? And a lot of what I'm seeing now is that they haven't really figured out what they are. So like they're offering a certain, set of things, and then they realize that, oh, there's a demand for this piece. We should
Right.
just build that. Like, why aren't we doing that? Because we could easily build it. We'll put it on a roadmap, and then we can offer that. Sometimes that's great. Sometimes it's not, because if they don't have that expertise or know exactly what they're doing, then they're just building something that might be an inferior product and they're wasting time, right?
That's true.
I'm seeing also a lot of companies, like digital companies, that are they are kind of tweaking their model, or they might get acquired because they do one thing well that actually helps a bigger company. So that's starting to happen now with this consolidation, and it's kind of turning into you know they might have one great thing about their product and then just gets absorbed and put into another product. I'm seeing, a little bit more of that. So it's been an interesting time with the tech partners, and they're, like I said, it's moving so fast that it's like, if we can connect you to this other partner, we think we can get X out of it. Can you make that happen? There's a conversation, like it's an exciting time with the product we're using. It's called FSAI, Franchise Systems AI. It's something that I've never seen before, and the scope of what we're building is pretty amazing. And we've already got other brands using it, as beta. But it's just like the kind of system where we're at a point with AI tools and that sort of thing, where it's like we're almost to the point where I can put in a prompt in the system. It has access to all the data points, our sales mix, inventory, hours for the employees, the food cost of each item, how many we giving away for free. The whole thing is in there. So now I can almost like query that and say, hey, I need to sell more beef pepper rice this week because we have more inventory. Create a campaign and send it to our guests that we have their data, offer them to come in and blah, 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 right? Where it's a it's a prompt, boom, and it creates it to brand spec with approved assets, sends the campaign. I don't have to do anything except approve the cost, right? So building that is hard, but it's amazing, and it's getting there, where this tool is going to be the one that can do it. We know all the other tools out there, they don't work the way that we're trying to build this, where we can input and output information, build, what we need, and then have our platform be the source of truth across all these other pieces. It's an amazing time.
There's a lesson there is that, when you're a small company, and I'm going to say Pepper Lunch in the context of in the US is still a growing chain, right? You guys have only about 12 stores or so, less than 15 stores in the United States. You have the luxury that you're able to kind of try out new tools, and you are able to build things up as you go and create those systems. But for a legacy player, let's use the RBI analogy here. Like, if you want to build something that is as powerful as what you guys are doing, you have to spend so much time like connecting all the data points and getting all the access approved. And it becomes this like innovator's dilemma where you aren't really able to try out these new technologies. So I love the fact that you've noticed that, but then it also does come at a cost, because you might be building something alongside a new vendor that hasn't really figured out its shit, and you could get a lot of benefit from asking them to build a certain feature, but you could potentially be going in the wrong direction and spending way too much time versus just buying a product off the shelf. So I love that you're doing that. Let's go to some of the things that you're doing on the marketing side of getting the brand out there in front of people. I saw that we talked about you're starting to bring out this avatar, this character with Pepper Lunch. It was Pepe, right? And
yeah, Peppy.
Peppy. I love that. I actually haven't seen that with other brands. Tell me more about the evolution of that character, and is there any other really cool like angles that you guys are taking in order to get in front of franchisees and to get in front of the public, the guests?
It's kind of like we were thinking, there hasn't been a character for a brand really since like Ronald McDonald, where like they went hard on Ronald McDonald. And when I was a kid, it was like, is Ronald McDonald the owner of like, did he, like just as a kid, you're like, what is this? And why is this clown such a part of it? But it was like really part of their DNA, right? And in the last 30 years, way less of that, right? So we just thought, this is fun. We're a global brand. So Pepper Lunch in the US, you're correct. There's 9 locations today.
9 locations.
There's 100 sold. So there's this development, and there's this goal to have over 500 in the States within the next 5 to 10 years, right? So with that goal, the idea of the character is that we already have 550 locations around the world, and we have this name recognition around the world, and especially in Asia. As you probably know, Asian culture in the last 5 years is exploding with Squid Game, with Japanese ramen, with you name it, right? Like sushi's been in place forever. Benihana's been here, but now other types of Asian foods are like Din Tai Fung. All these things are happening, right? Where Asian culture is at the forefront. We're right there with it. So our idea is, let's make our own character that can then play in these worlds. So as we're growing, we may not have the budget to partner with Labubu and make our own branded Labubu, but what we can do is make our own character, make it the same size as Labubu, and then he lives in that world automatically, because kids that like that see it, they say, oh, what is that? That's amazing. I don't know what that is, right? But it puts us in that world without us having to pay. We make stickers the same size as my daughter's Hello Kitty stickers, because it's in the world then, right? Like, we're just trying to put ourselves there for now, but we have this growth, and we're going to be at a point where we can play in that sandbox with real official collabs very soon, but like, we're just trying to set it up for now, like put ourselves in position to be seen in that same light. Because as you know, the stuff is just blowing up, like anime. We're looking at doing an anime deal where we can use characters and kind of put that out. Like, there's so many ways that we're looking at really, taking advantage of that wave and really putting our brand with it so that the youth thinks of it first, so we're very big, like youth brand over. Troy told me that based on our data, over 50% of our guests are, in that 18 to 24 bracket. So that's a huge percentage. We're trying to build the brand for Gen Alpha. Like, we're trying to build it for Gen Beta, the people that are being born. We want to be a part of it from early. So we're already looking out and saying, what can we do today that will then be able to evolve and reflect into those kids as they grow up and they can be a part of it. Part of that is just like literally we built a kids meal that we're going to launch in a couple of months, but we've made placemats that have games that with Peppy on it. We're just trying to tie it all together now so that it's, fully a part of the brand experience. And then the bigger picture is a full brand reload worldwide where we have a base. Here's Peppy's story. Let's say he's from the planet Teppan. He crash landed in Japan in 1994. He started like fun, right? But then we can tell that same story with an origin story and then let it go and do its own thing in Singapore or in China or in Japan. It can drift and tell its own because Americans aren't probably following the Japanese pepper lunch handle anyway, right? But it can tell its own story as long as the origin is the same. Then whatever that market dictates or whatever's fun there or whatever's on point can be told, but we still have this halo brand presence and we started the story, so there's ideas like that out there. And we just got a ton of stuff coming. Like we're trying to do our loyalty program different than any brand. So we're going to gamify it. We're going to put in claw machines in our restaurants, like real arcade claw machines where you can use it, win a Peppy stuffed animal, win gift cards, whatever. But it's going to be based on if you're in our loyalty program. If you're in, you scan a QR code, you play for free, drives people right to the business every day. You get one play, let's say. So we're designing that. So just really out of the box thinking, fun. And with this growth brand, the key parts about it are it doesn't take a lot of labor to run our brand. You can run the store with 4 to 6 employees at all times, even if you're busy, right? Amazing. The build outs are very cost effective. It's very flexible. So we're not saying you have to have this one style of store or you have to have 1,800 square feet or 24 or whatever. We're flexible. We can put it anywhere. The speed of service is amazing. The guest cooks our meal. So it's a teppanyaki hot plate, 500 degrees delivered to your table. You mix it up, sauce it, eat it. So it's experiential. It's got everything going for it that today's franchisee wants. Lower cost, less labor. Food cost is in line, 20%, 21% across the board, and then cheap to build. So it's got everything going for it. That's why we're selling so many locations, because smart operators can see it and go, oh, wow, why wouldn't I do this? I'm paying X at my brand I'm doing now. This is cheaper with more potential. So that's what we've designed and what we're pushing.
I knew there was something special in the brand when I was in high school in Irvine, and everyone was talking about Pepper Lunch. Everyone was going there, and you would see it on their Snapchat, on their Instagram. As soon as the plate comes out, it's all nice and warm, and they take a video and they're mixing it up. And I knew that there was, in that moment, I knew that there was something beyond just the food itself that's bringing people to the door. And so it's that experience, but then you got to have this like unique, almost like this brand ethos or this identity, and you tie that with the Peppy mascot. You give it a bit of a story, you give it a bit of life. With that, you have so much room to play. I'm thinking with the claw machine, you can have like almost like a Labubu type of box where they can get one of these characters, and each character has its own skin. Then you can gamify it even more by having like a super rare one that people are trying to get. So there's so much ways to kind of, if we're bringing into like the analogy of Japan, like the gachas, right, of the world, where you can gamify it and also get people excited to play. I'm also thinking of all these tools, like all these video generation tools. You can create so many unique worlds and just throw Peppy into the mix, and just the sky's the limit with the creativity that you can have. So I think we are entering a world right now where creators like yourself, marketers like yourself, have so much tools in their disposal where they can go wild and just have fun. When thinking about the positioning of the brand over the years, are there any, like, have you seen throughout your career any sort of risks in terms of maybe taking it a little too far, or alienating a certain market, or potentially maybe going too deep into that avatar of like 18 to 24-year-olds where you're potentially alienating a larger segment of the market? Have you guys thought through that? And, if you have any sort of like commentary around that point, I'm very curious.
Yeah, man, I've thought about it, but it doesn't even come into play, because I feel like if you don't stand for something, or if you're not unique, then why do I even care anyway? Right? I would rather have a brand have its own position, be unique, have something it stands on, if that's food quality, if that's service. Hopefully it's all those. But if it's a little uniqueness, if it's a little bit edgy, good. People want that. They don't want vanilla. They're tired of it. So even like the last brand I was at, Doghouse, we signed Jake Paul. Like we had Jake Paul doing stuff for us. We got much edgier based on that relationship, but we didn't lose anything. You know what I mean? Like we gained some fans, and it was like the people that love us are going to love us, right? That's how it's always been at that brand. The other piece is like for a brand like Halal Guys, I just dove into telling the story. Like the story's amazing. It's an immigrant story. It's Egyptian immigrants that came here with nothing, started a hot dog cart, turned it into a worldwide phenomenon. If that's not exciting, I don't know what is, right? To be able to tell the story of the streets of New York is exciting. Like everybody can relate. The business guy, the rapper, you name it. Everybody's been to that cart. So I can tell that story a million ways, and it's fun. And I can really tie you to the brand, and I can tell you the brand history, and I can tie you to the brand that way. Like I never look at it as a negative. I want it to be unique. I think the more unique it is, the better chance you have. And I've been lucky to work at category defining type restaurants. Like Baja Fresh was the first fast casual. It's the first Mexican fast casual. Like it came out in 1990. Chipotle came out in 93.
It's crazy to think.
I learned from that, right? Like just like how they did their business. I had never seen a restaurant like it before I started working there, right? So inventing a category. And then I go to QDOBA. They have 700 locations and a huge franchise base. And I learned the bigger business side of restaurants through that. But then I liked being in the trenches, helping start the brands or being early in their history and then bringing my sauce to it and helping, right? So I've seen kind of all of it, but I just think I've been lucky to be Halal Guys, the first halal food that went nationwide that was big, that has a classic platter that everybody knows and loves. Doghouse, unique hot dog brand with, King's Hawaiian smash burgers and all this like crazy food. And then JINYA Ramen, the biggest Japanese ramen chain, helping bring Japanese ramen to the forefront as a brand and an upscale brand, not just a mom and pop. So we're changing the expectation of ramen at that brand. Like it can be high class. It can be, we go there for drinks and ramen and the whole thing. It's not just a mom and pop place where I get my bowl and I'm out of there, and that's a different perception. And a lot of people in America didn't understand what we're elevating, we're doing that. And now here, totally unique product. Like unlike any in the world because of the way we do the plate. Like the plate technology is a patented technology. Our franchisees lease the equipment. Like this thing is locked down so that it's like, this is a unique experience. Now I have to tell that experience, but also build this unique world of like, how can I tie it to anime and this and bring our character to life and do this whole thing? I think that's exciting because it's not just blocking and tackling. Here's our digital plan. We're going to send direct mail, whatever. This is like create a character, create a backstory, use AI tools to your advantage to scale. Like it's everything, like just right on the edge of building, a unique brand that can be very memorable. So that's what drives me and, what makes this fun. I'm even thinking music in store. Like I want to do Japanese city pop during the day, which is like,
that's the best, dude. If you got that, like, that'll be sick.
Super interesting, so just that. And then at night, I want to change it to like, house music with Asian DJ flair from Japan and Korea and make it part of the DNA of the brand, because at its core, the brand is an Asian concept, with this 30-year history. So how do we make it cool in America? So that's what drives me. That's what I'm always thinking about.
Tell me about, I know this is outside of your world per se, but what are your franchisees like and who are you guys going after? What makes a good Pepper Lunch franchisee in your eyes?
What's great about this brand is, and I've worked at a lot of franchise brands now, but what I've found in my career is a lot of times a brand is not selling the brand themselves. So they're using a company, a FranSmart or whoever, to sell the brand. Right. With that,
a broker.
If you're not experienced, though, sometimes brokers will just sell to anybody because they want to get that sale and they want to sell that area of the country or whatever it is. And a lot of times the folks aren't necessarily qualified. Some of these people own a gas station. Some of them got an inheritance. Some of them have never operated a business, so you're dealing with all these types of folks. So I would say if you can, don't take the check. Everybody does, right? When you're new, you'll take the money from anyone because you want to keep the brand going and get it going. I get it when you're franchising. But here we have stricter requirements. You have to have a brand already. you have to do a 5-unit deal. So there's minimums in place where we're already getting a higher caliber franchisee. The worldwide business that goes back to Singapore, they respect and understand our plan. But it's like, good, do it the right way, work with the right operators. So then you don't have people crashing out of the system. You don't have people that aren't prepared. You have people that have already done it and they know what to do. And they follow our playbook with this brand, they'll be successful. So that's what you're looking for. And that's what's unique about this brand. We don't do one-offs. We don't sign you for one store deal. We don't, if your paper is not correct, meaning all your paperwork, we're not going to do it. Like there's high standards. A lot of the franchise base we have are people like Carl Karcher. That's Carl's Jr. He owns Dave's Hot Chicken locations. He owns Jamba Juice. He's a veteran of like years of this. He's one of the franchisees. We've got people with experience from like Blaze Pizza that are franchisees that were CEOs. Our franchise base is pretty strong with, high caliber people that have already done it. And I think that is an amazing place to be because it makes everything easier. They understand how the business works. It makes the site selection, the cost of things, marketing. They already understand and have a concept of what that should cost and what it looks like. So it's much easier to move forward with those types of folks. Where I've dealt with other ones, they don't want to spend money. They put in too much money to do the build out. Now they don't want to spend on marketing. All the dumb things that you could do as a franchisee because you're not thinking through like the ultimate success or the lifetime value. You're just thinking right now and your checkbook. And, I get that. But it's like all these things we do lead to a return later. And if you cut corners, it doesn't work. And that's been across every brand that I've ever been at.
It's probably been the best segment for that answer. I love it. A lot of people say the same things, but it is 100% true that you have to take it slow and you have to be deliberate and you need to have a very strong team behind you in order to make it run. And as soon as I discovered, I've known about Pepper Lunch for years now, growing up in Orange County, but I've only now discovered you and Troy and Paul and all the rest of your amazing team. And just seeing your activity in, franchise circles has been amazing. And I can tell that given the fact that you brought in Carl and his team to the plate is tremendous. I think that there is so much opportunity for you guys. And tell me a little bit more about your guys' team, other than the folks that I already know. How do you guys all work together? I know that you guys all drive up to Southern California a couple times a month and do a lot of development work. What is your guys' team dynamic like?
Yeah, it's pretty chill. I mean, I was the 10th employee hired in the North American division. So I am the last of the department hires, meaning marketing. Here we are. It's a tiny team, 10 people. We're all basically based in Southern California, some in Orange County and some in LA, except for our head of IT. He's a digital nomad. So like he'll be in Albania.
He earns that privilege.
He'll be wherever. So when I talk to him, it might be 2 a.m. his time or whatever. So he's the only one that's fully remote. But he's got like 10, 11 developers working under him because he also has his own company with the FSAI. They're working around the world as well. So it's just very global. It's very, we've got, office in Singapore, which is the main hub. We have people in Japan. So I'm on calls with those folks, at all hours of the night, just to help with their time because they're all in Asia. We just make it happen. I don't think that, there's really a problem now with after COVID with Zoom. Everybody can work remote if they need to or whatever. We're very self-sufficient. We've got pros at every position. So like, from the CEO, COO, Paul, doing construction, the ops team, the training team, they've all done it before. They're great people and we just do what we got to do. In my career, I felt like, to your point earlier, you said now it's a lot of crossover with IT and marketing. And I definitely agree with that. The last 5 years, that's been the case 100%. But before that, it was relationships with ops. And that was missing at some of the brands that I was at, where marketing and operations were butting heads instead of being a team. So I tried to put a stop to that immediately. Like when I was in my early 20s at Baja Fresh, I noticed that the marketing team didn't talk to ops and vice versa. And they were always arguing, and these guys would come from out of town and be like, I don't know what you guys are doing over here, blah, blah, blah. So what I did was I actually made it a point when they had the ops meeting and they flew in, 35 operators to Thousand Oaks. I went to their meeting and then I went to drink with them and then I went and played cards with them. And I tried to be a part of it so that I was. And then they looked at me and, marketing, you're not so bad. And they literally said shit like that. So how bad was it before? Right? Not great. What that did was that just set me in motion for the rest of my career where I'm like, I have to be in lockstep with my operating partner. It's sometimes a good cop, bad cop, sometimes a bad cop, good cop, whatever. But if they don't have your back, no marketing thing is going to happen because no operator has time to do marketing. No one wants to do it. And so if they don't have your back saying we have to get this done or help you with that process, you're dead in the water. So I just made it a point of like, I'm going to lock down with my ops partner. We're going to be the best of friends. And so I still carry that, even though IT is now in the same boat. It's both, so I have to have that relationship with ops and IT to be successful. And it's one of the most important things, in my career is just realizing that and then making that a part of every day.
Amazing. Well, we're at time. I want to be respectful of the rest of your time here. I just want to say, Justin, you guys are killing it. I loved everything that you brought to this episode with your authenticity and your experience and the creativity. I think for my audience that is listening, that is growing your brand, you guys are building a really strong playbook. And right now we're at 9. A couple of years from now, we're going to be at 100 plus. It's going to be an exciting journey, man. I really wish you guys the best. Keep at it.
Thank you. I totally appreciate it, man. And thank you for your time as well.
Have a good one.